What's going on, people? My name is Eric Piccione, and let me tell you, 2023 was a crazy year. A lot of ups and downs, but this was a really, really good year for us. And I want to go through what we did that made it so successful and just helped us go on the up and up. My name is Eric Piccione. I do make this channel to document my journey to financial freedom, share lessons along the way. And if you're on board with that, please leave a like below, comment, subscribe. I do call my community the pistachios. So if you're on board with that, subscribe, and that would be super appreciated. So essentially, I wanted to make this video, and a lot of my videos are very raw. There's not a lot of production to it. So it's usually just me setting up a camera and going for it. So first thing I wanted to talk about is just like big lessons, big updates, big things that happened throughout the year that really made this work well for us and like very successful. So the first thing that I wanted to touch on is I started my vending machine business quite literally like January 1st of 2022, or 2023, sorry. So 2023 started, I launched my vending machine business in hopes of supplementing some income for my family, for my future, and really building out something that at the time was going to be my full-time income right around this time, maybe a year and a half from joining or beginning that vending machine business. So what ended up happening is as time progressed, I started to realize what was and wasn't working along the way. And I realized that the vending machine business, while I really do like what it provided for my family, for myself, and long term, like what we could do with it, it wasn't incongruent with where we wanted to go long term. If I was going to be in the States for a long time, I would continue doing the vending machine business. I will touch on what I mean by that later, but it is a tough business to run remotely. And in order for us to live the lifestyle that we wanted to live, it would be in the best interest to just sell the business and move on from it. But if I had to start over again and I knew I was going to be in some city or state for 5, 10, 15 years in succession or like all at once, I would definitely keep this vending machine business going. But based on the circumstances that we're at, I do need to sell it. And I will touch on that a little bit more later. But the second thing that was a big update was just the income side of things. So right at the beginning of the year of 2023, I was working 2 jobs and I was really trying to do 2 things. One, build as much wealth as possible, really supplement our income as much as we possibly could, and also pay off our debts as fast as we could. Because what happened is the second we moved to our house right now where we're at in Cincinnati, we ended up getting a couple pretty big loans to be able to pay for our vending machine business and just like our general business stuff. So we had $26,000 in a HELOC that we used as a down payment for this house, which we are house hacking, and we have it at the bottom, the basement, as an Airbnb. So that was a business decision. We also took out around $25,000 loan for the vending business to take on. So I took a vending loan, or a personal loan rather, and some credit card debt that we took on, and then a $10,000 HVAC loan because we didn't have $10,000 lying around. So we decided to finance that purchase so that we could pay it off over time. And then eventually when we have the sum to pay it off, we would do that. So within like a month and a half, we were in $50,000 to $60,000 of debt. I think at the peak it was at $62,000, and I made a video on that touching how we paid it down. But debt period sucks, and I'm not a fan of it. I think it is the devil. I think debt is like one of the worst things out there. So I took on 2 jobs, and at one point 3 jobs, to try to pay down the debt and just earn as much money as possible in the period that I was here. So you're probably wondering, what kind of job did you have, Eric? I'm glad you asked. So I had all of my experience was wrapped in sales. So I was working primarily sales jobs. So I was making a ton of cold calls. I was doing a ton of follow-ups, a ton of prospecting, a ton of meetings with people. And I was probably putting in close to like 9 to 12 hours a day. Realistically, from the moment I woke up like at 6:30 to maybe 6:30, 7 o'clock at night, I was doing some form of work in some capacity. And you might be looking at this like, oh, that's not a full-time job. Full-time job is 8 hours. The the results, like my role is based more on results than it is the time that I put in. So as long as I'm hitting my activities, and I was cold calling maybe 60, 70 people a day, and also performing another job where I was doing meetings where I wasn't doing cold calling. I would like batch those meetings um, between like 10 o'clock in the morning to 2 to 3 in the afternoon. So I would do my meetings, but then before and after those, I would have my cold call sessions. So I was putting in like two jobs at one point, and then eventually three, and that only happened for maybe like a month, maybe a month and a half, where I took on as much workload as I possibly could. I was putting in about 100 dials to 150 dials a day, cold calling a ton of people, and it sucked. I hated it so much, but it was important to do because it allowed us to get a lot of funding for us to be able to pay down our debts. So that was a big reason that I did what I did. Would I do it again? Sure, but it would definitely be a temporary thing. I would rather just focus on one sales job and just do really well with that, and just put all of my energy and attention into that thing so that I can grow that income the most versus splitting my time, energy, and attention to multiple things, which actually brings us to our next point, the big update. So, a lot of times, the traditional path that I've been on in the past 2 to 3 years has been, you know, I need 20 income streams. I need 25 income streams to feel successful. And at one point, I prided myself on having close to 25 income streams where I was like flipping things on eBay, Amazon, Etsy, like Facebook Marketplace, doing some online stuff like drop shipping. I had a digital marketing thing I was trying to do. It was way too much, and I was probably moving an inch in a million different directions. Now, if I were to focus all my energy and attention on maybe 1 to 3 things, I would go a million miles in one direction, and that's great. That was the intention. So that's what I realized about halfway through this year is the importance of focusing on one or very few things so that you can put all of your attention on those and grow that faster. And that was a huge moment that I was very thankful for, because as a result, whenever I cut it from three down to like one sales job, my income, quadrupled in as a result. So that was a really interesting moment for me, and that allowed us to really progress fast for the second half of 2023. So that was really great. And another really fun thing that happened is, or not fun in the grand scheme of things, but it was an important realization, is America is not the place that we want to live. And that was a realization that came from like medical bills that were coming in. We had our daughter was going to the doctor all the time. We had her in daycare, and like damn near every week there was something going on with her where we needed to pull her out because she was sick. She had a fever, she had a runny nose, or she had like a pink eye, or some crap was going on every single week, it felt like. And I think we calculated it, and out of the maybe 120 days that we've had her there, maybe 180, she's been gone for like 60 because of weekends, but also a lot of sickness. Like there's been weeks in a row where she's been gone, and it's just like one thing after the next. And we're still paying for daycare, and it's like $1,000 a month, and we don't even have insurance, but we're looking at all of our expenses. And in order for us to live what I would consider a comfortable life, where our bills are paid, our food on the table, like base life needs, is like 4,500 to 5 grand. And if we go above that, that's definitely a more comfortable life. But it's just exhausting to try to maintain like 5 grand a month in income for a family of three. So we looked around, and we threw out the idea of what would it look like to live abroad. And my wife, she lives, or her family rather, lives in Russia. And we figured it might make a ton of sense to just look into this more. And the more that we looked into it, the more it made sense for us, for the betterment of our family, to make that transition. Now we're definitely months away from that happening, but it is something that is on the horizon. in terms of practicality of us being able to do it. So a big thing, a big reason behind that is, for one, at least for me, cost of living. We will cut our living expenses in half, if not three times, where we could live the exact same quality of life where all of our bills are paid. We have really good food on the table. The quality of food is also better. The education system is often, significantly better too, because you don't have to pay an arm and a leg to go to school. It's all free. And if it is, a tuition might be like 1,200, 2,000 bucks a year. So it's like not a big deal. And daycare is, sub 100 bucks a month. The medical costs are often either free or heavily discounted. Like, I got a ton of medical checkups completed for less than $100. I got my teeth fixed, like they were chipped and discolored and it was nasty. It had been like 4 years since I had them fixed, and I did that for like less than $100 too. So it was just an eye-opening experience that we could have all of our things that we've been neglecting for so long, or haven't been being able to put our family in a position to where we're secure by not having insurance. Like, it's a very risky thing in America to feel good, right? So you can't feel comfortable just living a normal life, because if something happens, God forbid, you need to cover it through insurance. You're going to pay an arm and a leg first monthly. Like, it's an expensive monthly cost, but you're not even really going to have full coverage even when that expense does happen, which is crazy. Like, when my wife gave birth, it was like a 15 grand out of pocket costs on top of I think it was like $800 or $1,200 monthly expense of us just having that insurance. So it's like the feasibility of living here is just quite ridiculous right now. So that, plus again, healthcare, medical costs, education, and just quality of life, because we have family that are right around the corner. Everything is easily walkable. I think it checks all of our boxes in terms of what we're looking for. So that's the biggest reason that we're making that transition. We will have to say goodbye to our friends and family, but we will be able to come back multiple times a year if we need to. It's not like we're, burning every bridge. Like, we're going to keep our rental properties here. In the event that we ever need to come back, we would be able to, and that's not going to be a problem. So no issues there. But that was a big reason that we decided to go. It's just like overall quality of life, being able to be around family, cost of living for sure, because we would be able to grow our wealth exponentially faster through that approach of living abroad. So, not to beat a dead horse here, but the other part that was really nice about 2023 is the ability to go to VCon, which is a conference held by Gary Vaynerchuk. Not to get too into the details, but it was like an NFT project that he launched in 2021. I was fortunate enough to have enough funds at the time to be able to get into that. 2023 was a really good year, and it was a great conference. I really enjoyed the time that I spent around. It was in May when the conference happened. There was an Uno tournament that I ended up winning, which was crazy. And as a result, I got some rewards and some prizes. And then one of the big events that came from that was I got to play Gary in person in his office in December. So that happened like a couple weeks ago, and that was really fun. I beat him, and I'm the world champion, if you will, of Uno. So if anyone is watching this and wants to play, let's do it. That would be sick. I mean, I definitely I don't know. It's just a shocking turn of events. Like, I was more of a week or two before the conference, I was alerted that I was in the tournament, and then I just was expecting to win maybe a round or two, and I ended up going all the way. And just like as the rounds went on, my game got better, and I finished the final round, which was 3 total games, and I think I had like a total score of 20, which means that I got 0 points. Lower points is better. 0 points, 2 points, and then like maybe 20 or 18 or something, and everyone else was at hundreds. It was like crazy. Anyway, as a result of VCon, I learned the importance of focusing on your passions, and like dialing in on who it is that you want to be, and not trying to impress other people, yada yada. So as a result of that, that was why I decided to niche down and focus more on like the critical few things that are going to move the needle the fastest in this example, it's my job, my sales job, my blog, YouTube channel, things that I genuinely enjoy versus all these dozens of things that really weren't bringing me happiness and I thought were going to make me happy, but in the grand scheme of things were just time sucks. So that was a really helpful thing to help me progress much faster coming from that conference, and a lot of really good things have transpired from that, really good relationships, and I'm very thankful for that community. I'm excited for the next year that's going to be in LA. But apart from that, the vending business, just to come back full circle, as a result of us trying to move abroad, the easiest thing for us to do again is to cut ties from any physical presence needs that we will have in the States. So meaning vending business being one of them. It's a great business, especially if I'm gone for like 2 to 3 weeks. I can handle not needing to restock them, but anything longer than that, product starts to get sold out, and then things sort of dwindle, sales dwindle, and then eventually the people that I have a contract with, they start to look at what's going on in the grand scheme of things. So I haven't ever gone 3 weeks without restocking, but in the event that we're gone for 2 months or 3 months, like that would just be, like irresponsible really, without having a proper system in place. And I could hire someone to restock the machines, but to me, I would rather just sell everything and focus more energy and attention on something else that I know we could do abroad. And for me, that would be our real estate business. I would rather spend all of our energy and attention and funds outside of our living expenses to put into like our long-term plan of building wealth. And to me, real estate makes the most sense. So what we're going to do, or the general plan as of right now, is to turn the house that we're in at this current moment in Cincinnati into an Airbnb. It's actually a really good property. I'm very interested to see what that might look like as we put more thought into this and what kind of amenities we can offer, because we've done Airbnb for a couple of years now. We've had really good experiences with it. So we might throw, a hot tub in here or like a pool table, who knows. But the fact that it's a little bit outside of the city, away from all the noise, is very helpful. It's got, a nice backyard. There's a deck. There's plenty of space. It's a really interesting property. I'm very curious to see what will happen, because all of our past properties or units, if you will, on Airbnb have been basements or additional dwelling units where we're on the property. We've never rented out the full house. So that'll be a very interesting experience. God willing, we can pull, maybe 3,500, $4,000, $5,000 out of the property every month. That would be insane. But, I'm very open to the idea of what would happen. We can always fall back on the long-term rental and just rent it for, 10, 12 months at a time if we need to. But, that is the general plan for the time being with this house. And that also gives us the flexibility. Anytime we come back into the States, we can stay here for a month or two and have like have a place to crash. And, if we also need to, we can stay with my family. So there's all sorts of ways that we can split this. But that's the general updates from the high level. Now the lessons learned, basic things, going down the list here. Staying out of debt was by far the most important thing that we learned from this year. It is very easy to get into debt. So the lesson that I am 100% gung-ho about is getting out of debt and staying out of debt. Now, the only thing that I would consider good debt is something that provides an income. So yes, like the vending loan and what have you, but in the grand scheme of things, we were probably profiting like $500, $600 a month with the debt, but without it, we're making well over $1,000 in recurring revenue per month in cash flow, which is great. Same thing with mortgages. That's probably the only area that I feel you should have debt for, but everything outside of that, paid off as fast as possible in the most comfortable way that you can. And that way you have a lot more peace of mind. So the only thing left for us now is the property, like the mortgages, but everything else has been paid off, thank God. Like it is a extremely fulfilling feeling to have that out of sight, out of mind now. But that was the big one. Also, having a goal, having a target of where you're going helped us a ton, because at the beginning of every year, like the end of every year, whatever, we set a goal. We set maybe 10 plans or 10 like visions of what we want, maybe pay off debt, increase income to a certain level, whatever that is. My wife and I sit down, we write down our goals. And then I also have a like mantra that I read every single day, twice a day in the morning and at night, taking a tip from Think and Grow Rich. It's more of like a monetary goal with a set date and then what I need to do to achieve it. And I read that every single day, twice a day, and it's come to fruition. Like the income goal that I set in place has actually been realized, and it's crazy because it's hit 4 months prior to the time that I originally thought I would hit that goal. So very impressed with the way that goals can actually become reality. I know you probably hear that all the time, but writing them down provides a lot more power or bang for your buck than just like thinking it, because you put it on paper, it becomes reality, and then you constantly have this target in front of you. Not saying that we look at all 10 goals every day, but just the fact of writing them down and then having them in a place that you can check them maybe every couple weeks is great. But for me, having a big monetary goal provides a lot of benefits because you have the ability now, instead of thinking I can't do it, or maybe you're thinking smaller of I just want to put food on the table, you have this bigger financial goal and you start thinking, how can I do that? And then you start opening up your horizons, you start finding different ways to make it happen in a way that you never thought you could. And coming from experience, I 1000% believe in the power of setting goals. And also the book Think and Grow Rich, that is a fantastic book. If you haven't read it already, we definitely recommend it. It has far and away changed my life, but setting goals and then sticking to them. And lastly, this is something that I want to get like tattooed on my head, is just the thought of change the rules to win the game, or more formally, if you can't win the game, change the rules, and if you can't change the rules, ignore them. Because for me, what I needed to do in order to really move ahead in this path to build wealth, to pay off debts, I had to get multiple jobs. Like most people have this thought that they're not able to get ahead in life, they're not able to get out of this circumstance that they're in, they're stuck, right? And a lot of companies like shame you for having two jobs. But at the end of the day, I mean, hell, you kind of have to earn $60,000 in today's world to even live somewhat comfortably, and maybe you live off of ramen and you're super frugal and you can live off of 30 or 40, totally fine. I'm saying from a family of three, genuinely, like we've lived off of $30,000 a year. It's hard. It's very hard, and you can't really do anything extra outside of that. You can't really have any fun. You're kind of just floating by. But it wasn't until I started to look at the bigger scheme, the bigger picture of how can I earn more income, is when it really started to come into action. So start thinking of ways that you can really change the rules of how the game is played. Maybe you need to change your environment. If you live in an expensive city like California, or state like California or New York, or maybe like, not Dallas isn't super expensive, but some parts of maybe Texas or whatever, move somewhere else where you will be able to stretch your dollar further. Maybe the Midwest. Like that's one of the big reasons why we moved to Ohio, is because of the cost of living is pretty damn low. I mean, you're going to find houses in the Midwest significantly lower. I feel the quality of life here is better. It's not as hot as Texas, and that was a big reason that we went. But we've also saved a ton more money as a result. And even in the future, we're going to move abroad internationally. And that's going to take our expenses from like 4,500, $5,000 to less than $2,000, So that's kind of where I see changing the rules come into place, is like add more income sources, try to take on like part-time work on the side if you can, or find a side project, side job that you can do. Maybe you flip furniture, maybe you sell stuff online that you can find at the thrift store, just tiny things. Like you just need to find ways to change the way that normal people are doing, or get outside of the standard way that everyone lives. That's really the only way to break out of this cycle that you're likely in. So that's my 2023 year in review. I appreciate you watching this and just sticking with me. Again, if you want to be a part of the pistachio community, hit the subscribe button. If you are still watching, check out Financial Freedom and Me. It's my personal blog that I'm writing on this path to financial freedom. It's kind of incongruent with this YouTube channel. But again, I thank you so much for watching this video. It really means a lot to me. If you did like it, leave a comment below. Maybe some parts that you enjoyed or like it. Whatever the case, thank you so much for watching. God bless. Stay tuned.